history department has 10 faculty, including full-time and part-time lecturers. It's probably going to stay that way for a while. We've got somewhere between 140 and 150 majors right now. We'd very much like to increase that, so we're trying to make our program as attractive as possible to prospective students. And personally, I think it's a really great major. I wish I had had the kinds of courses that we offer when I was a history major as an undergraduate long ago. But we offer a variety of, go ahead. We offer a variety of lower division and upper division courses. The lower division courses usually serve general education requirements, and some of the upper division courses do too. But those are mostly for majors, and we have courses in all kinds of subjects, historical areas, geographical regions,
okay.
East Asia, the Middle East, Europe, the United States, Latin America. We don't offer anything in African history for the most part, or South Asia, Southeast Asia, or the Pacific, but maybe someday. We've got a course in history of the Soviet Union that I teach. So we've got a wide range of courses, but we could always do more. And my favorite things about the history major, two things. One is the historical methods course is kind of like boot camp for history majors, and it's very tough, very rigorous. But you also learn so much. Students come out of that class smarter than when they went in, better able to read and think critically, to do research, better writers. So it's really very intensive training in all the things that the history major does for students. The other thing that I think is really exciting about our program is the internships and other practicum requirements. This is something new. We want each history major to have 4 of these one-unit practicums. And this can be like the Latino Film Festival counts for this, International Education Week counts for this. We also sometimes offer specialized weekend workshops. That's a one-unit course that meets like Friday and Saturday or 2 Saturdays. And we've done weekend workshops on Nazi propaganda, domestic terrorism in American history, science fiction in 20th century America. These are really fun and enjoyable ways of interacting with history. But our internships are particularly great, and those keep on growing. Just yesterday I had somebody come in and tell me the Veterans Hall here in Arcata has a huge cache of papers that they've collected over decades, and they want a history student to come and organize that stuff and maybe put it in the Humboldt room for researchers. So we do stuff like that all the time, and we place students with the Humboldt room here in the library, Redwood State and National Parks working in their archives, City of Eureka, Humboldt Historical Society, the Clark Museum.
Ferndale.
Yeah, Fern Cottage in Ferndale. We're just starting a program with the Wiyot tribe at Table Bluff. They have tons of historical materials that aren't organized yet. So it's real hands-on practical work, getting to work with real historical materials, often starting from scratch, organizing like letters and documents and all kinds of other stuff that has historical significance. And increasingly our students go into master's programs in public history, like interpreting in parks and museums and stuff, museum studies, archival studies, and Sacramento State has a really good master's program, and we've already sent at least 3 students there that I know of. So the history major, I think, offers a lot for students. People who graduate with a bachelor's degree in history make good livings. They're usually not historians. Sometimes they go into work that's related to history, like doing historical interpretation or museum work or archive work, and we've had, oh, come on in, Suzanne, come through. We're doing a tour of the history department. Yeah. But in the history major, we teach students skills that employers want. So if you go to the Career Services Center, they'll tell you the top 10 things that employers in the 21st century want from new employees. We do 7 of those things in the history major. Because employers, technical skills like using computers or doing finance and stuff, they can teach you that. What they want you to have coming in is being able to think for yourself, being able to express yourself, articulate your ideas, being able to take, 50 different reports and take the important information out of that and condense it into, say, 5 pages, so that's something that your boss can read. Those are skills that are very valuable to employers, and that's exactly what we do in the history program. It's all about research and writing. So the content in many ways is kind of secondary to the skills that we're teaching history majors. Everybody's going to learn about the history in the course of their classes. You know, United States history, European history, Asian history, whatever. But in the course of doing that, you learn how to sort good information from bad information, how to analyze sources correctly and critically, how to compare different sources speaking to the same event, even when they contradict each other, and try to figure out what really happened, or what this, even more importantly, what this event means for us. And we put a lot of emphasis on oral and written expression as well. So students learn how to write, how to take research that they've done over weeks and weeks and weeks, and lots of books and articles and primary historical documents, and to put that all together into a meaningful paper that not only presents information but also provides an interpretation of that information for the reader, that explains to them what's the significance of what they're reading. And as I said, these are all very important skills, and people with bachelor's degrees in history actually end up making more money than people in a lot of other majors. Although you might not think this, it's true. So our students do pretty well when they leave here. Although a lot of them don't end up being teachers or historians or archivists or college professors or something like that, but there's lots of other jobs that require those skills, like almost anything in business. Just about every institution has history and has archives and needs somebody to do that job, like in the medical industry. For a while, the Harvard Business School taught business through historical case studies, and they had a whole crew of historians working for them. I think that's changed a little bit now. They're in. But other jobs like law enforcement, the skills that we learn in the history major can be applied to detective work. It's very similar in many ways, that we're trying to use more or less unreliable sources to figure out what happened, which is what detectives do in criminal investigations or forensics, that kind of thing. These are all fields that history majors can go into. Let's think if there's anything else. So yeah, you've seen a couple of our faculty go through. I can take you around back where their offices are and show you around if you want that kind of tour. But do you have any questions for me? What are the kinds of things that you want to be able to tell prospective students when they come here? Because I really appreciate your efforts, and I would really like to get new students coming into the history major. But oftentimes they don't really realize what college-level historical study is like, because the way history is taught in high schools is usually bad. It's all lies. It's all, just the facts, memorize these dates and spit them back out on the exam, and there's very little in the way of critical thinking or self-expression. But the way we do it, it's all about critical thinking and self-expression. This is probably the most important thing we do, is learning how to read sources critically, which in this, that we live in the misinformation age, it's very important to be able to sort good sources from bad and good information from bad. So that you don't just believe bullshit that's going to get you into trouble when reality comes to bite you on the ass. Any questions for me? Anything else I can tell you? Yeah.
Is it true that with a history degree you could help like a lot of scientists with their writing their research, or like helping out with their research?
Yeah, or magazine editing, publishing, that kind of work. I've done those kinds of jobs a lot in the course of supporting my studies as a graduate student. Had a number of different editor positions. So yeah, working with language, that's what we do. History's all about texts, pretty much. And by text, we define that very broadly, including photos and art. Art history is a whole field unto itself. And even artifacts, machinery. So everything has history, including science, medicine. All these things have a history, and understanding that is often important. That's the way most physics courses start out. They start out with the ancient Greeks and then talk about Kepler and Copernicus and Chinese astronomers and all that stuff. Everything has history. It's important. There's other departments here in Founders Hall, but just this building itself has history. This was the original building of Humboldt State University when it was Humboldt State College. It was mostly a teacher's college back then, when it was founded in 1914. But there's all kinds of bits of the history of this campus around this building. Something worth pointing out if you want to emphasize the history department to prospective students. We also get some nice views. That's true.
My shade is broken right now. I show it to you.
So there's two pathways for history students. The straight history major, which I mentioned already. The capstone course for that is History 490, and students research and write a 25-page article on a topic of their own choosing, doing original research, and it's that's what historians do. It's a really good experience. There's also the history, social science education track. The history and social science track, students take fewer upper division history courses, but they also take geography and politics and economics to get a more well-rounded social science education with the goal of going into secondary education, so high school teaching. And it's a waiver program, which means students who have completed the bachelor's degree in the history social science track can go into a teaching credential program, which we also do here, and a lot of our students that's their next year after graduation, is going into the credential program. And they don't need to take the CSET exam, which is one of these kind of gatekeeping exams to keep people out of the profession. It's more or less how I see it. So that's a major that's designed for teachers. But honestly, we get students going from the regular history major into the credential program also. And sometimes those students take a couple extra courses just to get a good background in social science to prepare themselves for that. But yeah, teaching is one of the main professions that history majors go into. But again, it's by no means exclusive. There's all kinds of jobs that history majors do, including President of the United States. And quite a few history majors who have been presidents of this country.